Now must I sing new griefs, and my verses strain to form the matter of the 20th canto of Canticle 1, the Canticle of Pain. My vantage point permitted a clear view of the depths of the pit below, a desolation bathed with the tears of its tormented crew, who moved about the circle of the pit at about the pace of a litany procession. Silent and weeping, they wound round and round it. And when I looked down from their faces, I saw that each of them was hideously distorted between the top of the chest and the lines of the jaw, for the face was reversed on the neck, and they came on backwards, staring backwards at their loins, so for to look before them was forbidden. Someone, sometime, in the grip of a palsy, may have been distorted so, but never to my knowledge, nor do I believe the like was ever seen. Reader, so may God grant you to understand my poem and profit from it. Ask yourself how I could check my tears, when near at hand I saw the image of our humanity distorted so that the tears that burst from their eyes ran down the cleft of their buttocks. Certainly I wept. I leaned against I leaned against the jagged face of a rock and wept so that my guide said, "Still, still, like the other fools. There is no place for pity here. Who is more arrogant within his soul? Who is more impious than one who dares to sorrow at God's judgment? Lift up your eyes. Lift up your eyes and see him the earth swallowed before all the Thebans, at which they cried out, 'Whither do you flee, Amphiaraus? Why do you leave the field?' And he fell headlong through the gaping earth to the feet of Minos, where all sin must yield. Observe how he has made a breast of his back. In life he wished to see too far before him, and now he must crab backwards round this track. And see Tiresias, who by his arts succeeded in changing himself from man to woman, transforming all his limbs and all his parts. Later he had to strike the two twin serpents once again with his conjurer's wand before he could resume his manly lineaments. And there is Aaron's, his back to that one's belly, the same who in the mountains of the Luni, tilled by the people of Kara's valley, made a white marble cave in his den, and there with unobstructed view observed the sea and the turning constellations year by year. No, astrology, burn in hell. Anyways, I don't like this chapter. And she whose unbound hair flows back to hide her breasts, which you cannot see, and who also wears all of her hairy parts on that other side, was Manto, who searched countries far and near, then settled where I was born. In that connection there is a story I would have you hear. Tiresias was her sire. After his death, Thebes, the city of Bacchus, became enslaved, and for many years she roamed about the earth. High in sweet Italy, under the Alps that shut the Tyrolean gate of Germany, there lies a lake known as Benacus round about. Through endless falls, more than 1,001, Mount Apennine, from Garda to Val Camonica, is freshened by the waters that flow down into that lake. At its center is a place where the bishops of Brescia, Trentin, and Verona might all give benediction with equal grace. Peschiera, the beautiful fortress, strong in war against the Brescians and the Bergamese, sits at the lowest point along that shore. There the waters Benacus cannot hold within its bosom, spill and form a river that winds away through pastures green and gold. But once the water gathers its full flow, it is called Mincius rather than Benacus, from there to Governo, where it joins the Po. Still near its source it strikes a plain, and there it slows and spreads, forming an ancient marsh which in the summer heats pollutes the air. The terrible Virgin, passing there by chance, saw dry land at the center of the mire, untilled, devoid of all inhabitants. There, shunning all communion with mankind, she settled with the ministers of her arts, and there she lived, and there she left behind her vacant corpse. Later the scattered men who lived nearby assembled on that spot, since it was well defended by the fen. Over those whited bones they raised the city, and for her who had chosen the place before all others they named it, with no further augury, Mantua. For far more people lived there once before sheer madness prompted Casalodi to let Pinamonte play him for a dunce. Therefore, I charge you, should you ever hear other accounts of this, to let no falsehood confuse the truth which I have just made clear. And I said to him, Master, within my soul your word is certainty, and any other would seem like the dead lumps of burned out coal. But tell me of those people moving down to join the rest. Are any worth my noting? For my mind keeps coming back to that alone. And he said, That one whose beard spreads like a fleece over his swarthy shoulders was an augur in the days when so few males remained in Greece that even the cradles were all but empty of sons. He chose the time for cutting the cable at Aulis, and Calchas joined him in those divinations. He is Eurypylus. Eurypylus. I sing him somewhere in my high tragedy. You will know the place who know the whole of it. The other there, the one beside him, with the skinny shanks, was Michael Scott, who mastered every trick of magic fraud, a prince of mountebanks. See Guido Bonatti there, and see Asdente, who now would be wishing he had stuck to his last, but repents too late, though he repents a plenty. And see on every hand the wretched hags who left their spinning and suing for soothsaying and casting of spells with herbs and dolls and rags. But come, Cain with the bush of thorns appears already on the wave below Seville, above the boundary of the hemispheres. And the moon was full already yesternight, as you must well remember from the wood, for it certainly did not harm you when its light shone down upon your way before the dawn. And as he spoke to me, we travelled on.